Panthers, they're sending a clear message to Cam Newton this offseason. You don't always have to go for the big play. Now, the Panthers say that Cam needs to know that checking down is okay, because a lot of his injuries and turnovers have happened because Cam thinks he can make virtually any play work. Cam's numbers have been down the last 2 seasons since that stunning MVP season back in 2015. We're now joined by NFL analyst Mark Schlereth. Mark, do you think that Cam can change the way he plays?
I think it's going to be very difficult for Cam to change the way he plays. I mean, I think a couple of things. The things that set Cam Newton apart, the things that make him great are his physical attributes. And the way they have designed offense in Carolina is to take advantage of those physical attributes. You would. I don't think it's a sustainable form, but he is, 6'6", 250. I mean, that guy he is Superman. He's a freak of nature. He's got unbelievable arm talent. The issue is that he's relied on athleticism, in my mind, for so long that he hasn't become a great thrower of the football from an anticipatory standpoint. He is a sight thrower. Oftentimes he misses wide open receivers because he's late with the football. And so to be a great check down quarterback, to me, a lot of it is when you're dropping back from the line of scrimmage, you're reading the defense and you're already going, okay, the route combination I have on the front side of this this route combination is not very good against this defense. I've already committed to throwing a check down on time, out of my hand. I'm not waiting to throw it where the defense can rally. It's already coming out on time, accurately to my receiver because of what I've seen and what I've processed as I'm dropping back from the line of scrimmage. So I think it sounds like a really easy thing to accomplish. I just don't think it's as easy as, all of a sudden you're going to become a great check down guy. And when you've relied on your supreme gift and the hand of God has touched Cam Newton, there is no question about it. When you've always relied on that, I think it's really hard all of a sudden to start playing from the neck up as opposed to the neck down and rely on my body and rely on my physical skills. So I think it's a much tougher transition than we just seem to make it out to be, like all of a sudden you got to throw checkdowns.
Can he? Yes. Will he? That's the question. Skip, do you actually think Norv Turner is the first offensive coordinator to tell Cam Newton, Cam, check the ball down? No. Cam sometimes starts to play that hero ball, and he thinks every play needs to be a big play. Norv Turner learned under Ernie Zampese. Most offenses are rhythmic. It's 1, 2, 3. 3's not there. Go to 2. Check it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Check it down. As Stink says, when you're backpedaling, you already know. Well, my 1 is gone. So I'm already going to 2. So I don't even have to worry about 1 because the coverage is already dictated. 1's going to be taken away. Now I go 2 to check down. I thought that's what they got Christian McCaffrey for. That's what they surrounded him with some of these receivers, Skip. They were going to let them do some of the heavy lifting instead of Cam doing all the heavy lifting. You look at it. Tom Brady has no problem checking the ball down. Look at his backs. Look at Edelman. Look at Amendola. Look what they did. Drew Brees has no problem checking the ball down. Rodgers will check the ball down. Cam needs to understand, yes, we can throw the ball. And the reason why he missed a lot of time high and wide, he's always throwing off his back foot. If you look at Cam, very rarely does he step and throw. When he steps and throws the ball, he is arm talented as good as anybody.
Absolutely.
But most of the time it's like this. It's back foot. And so the ball's going to sail on you high or wide. Skip, can he do it? Sure he can. Will he? As Stink said, Cam has gotten away with being so much more physically gifted at the quarterback position. Because if you look at him out of his clothes, he looks like a D lineman. He looks like a tight end.
I agree.
No quarterback has ever been built like this young man is built. He is put together, and he can throw the ball, and he can run 4 or 5 at 6'6", 250. But that's the thing. And Norv coached quarterbacks hard. I don't know if Cam has been coached hard. Norv is old school, Skip. You know he was in Dallas.
I know him very, very well from my days in Dallas.
Yeah.
When he became the big brother that Troy Aikman desperately needed when Troy was struggling, and Norv turned everything around. But he coached Troy hard, but Troy was robo quarterback. He was as pocket passer as you could ever get. He was prototypical pocket passer.
Yep.
1, 2, 3. planets have to be aligned. And if they are, he will shred you.
Yes.
So that was when Norv had his most success. He also had brief success with Phil Rivers, who was mostly a pocket passer that one year that they got to the AFC Championship game up in Foxborough when he was San Diego head coach. Other than that, Norv hasn't done very much. He did coach Doug Flutie as his starting quarterback for 1 year as the OC in San Diego, so maybe he had a little bit of a running quarterback there. They were terrible, 5-11, and Doug Flutie was 15 touchdowns to 18 interceptions, so I'm not sure that worked.
Right.
I just don't think Cam is going to be Norv's cup of tea or vice versa. And I remind you, what really disturbs me for Cam's sake is that Norv has his son Scott as the quarterback coach. And Scott was nothing more than a high school quarterback who, through his connections with his father, became a quarterback coach in the National Football League. So Cam, if he has issues with Norv, who can be really tough to I know him well. If he has issues with the coordinator, he can't go to the quarterback coach and say, hey, buffer me here. You know, be my sounding board here, because it's father and son against Cam.
Well, a good coordinator, a good quarterback coach will understand he will need to be that sounding board.
know.
He needs to be able to absorb that and keep that between whatever happens.
I don't know.
He's going to have to.
Real quick, who did they draft in the first round? The player I wanted my Cowboys to take with the 19th overall pick, DJ Moore out of Maryland. He was the best receiver in the draft.
Right.
He's going to change life for Cam Newton next year because he can get behind people.
Right.
And they took him at 24. Dallas took him at 19. Don't get me started. But the point is that you have a deep threat for the first time in a while. You know, you had Kelvin Benjamin for a while last year, but really, that's it. Now you've got a legitimate deep threat. What does Cam do worst? His short pass touch. He's not an accurate short passer. Of all the quarterbacks who started all 16 games last year from 1 to 10 yards, he had the worst passer rating. So he's throwing some short passes to Christian McCaffrey, who caught 80 balls and led the team last year. But still, his best pass is the downfield pass.
Right.
And now that's going to open back up for him. His best check down pass to me is to take off. I mean, that's just that's who he had a career high 754 rush yards last year, and he played all 16 games. That's just who. You don't think that threatens a defense more than a check down pass?
And that is truly his beauty. A couple of things. How do you change when you've been an MVP, you've been a multiple Pro Bowler, and you've made $100 million? Like all of a sudden you have the humility to say, yeah, I need to be better and I need to fix my game. That's going to be a hard thing. Egos, you know, and we all have them in this business, in any business. That's tough. The other thing about mechanically speaking, when you're late with the football, it's like being a pitcher. When your body rushes ahead of your arm, what happens to you? You pull your head, your arm gets long, and now you miss outside, high outside. And when you're late with the football, you have to hurry your mechanics. So instead of stepping into it, you yank. And when you see him yank, arm gets long, he misses. It's just like being a pitcher. And that's been the biggest issue with Cam on the short passing game.
Now, Mark, you bring up a point earlier about what's his incentive to change, basically. He's making $100 million, winning MVP, going to Super Bowls. Why change?
Right.
I grew up in Charlotte. I was 12 years old when the Carolina Panthers expanded into the NFL. Nobody is rooting for Cam Newton in this world more than me. Seriously. But he's got to think about how long he wants to play at the NFL level.
Sure.
At some point, that has to come into his psyche, right? And I think at some point, I love the Superman plays. I love the dives in the end zone. I love the backflips. I mean, it's awesome to watch. But at some point, there has to be a consideration around the cost, the long-term cost of that kind of big play on everything.
And here's what I would tell you. When your default mechanism throughout your whole life, Michael Vick, Cordell Stewart, when your default mechanism is the neck down, meaning I can always rely on my athleticism. When you're in a pressure situation, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody in 12 years of playing and 18 years of covering the game that all of a sudden changes their default mechanism. You've always been able to rely on it, and that's my fear
But he
for a guy like
won't
him.
be able to.
No, I know, and that's what ends up knocking you out of the league, right?
It's awesome. Thank you, Mark,
Yeah,
so much
absolutely.
for joining for this combo. Listen, when we come back, Baker Mayfield. Now, we know he's going to start in Cleveland, but will he be starting on the bench? We'll talk about it next on Undisputed.